Hello everyone. Welcome to TOEFL 2017 Score Booster lesson brought to you by Veracity Mentors, experts in TOEFL since 2009. In this lesson, we are just going to cover the major updates, the information that you would need to know if you're attempting the test in 2017. Let's look at the two versions of the test. The IBT, the internet-based test, is the version that we would recommend. It's the most popular version. It's a completely computerized test, and you can find more information about it at ets.org/TOEFL/IBT/about. The other version is a new version. Earlier, there used to be a paper-based version, or PBT, which has now been scrapped. If you have taken the PBT prior to June 2017, your scores will still be valid for the next 2 years. You don't have to worry now since we are at August. So it's important to note that in October 2017, the revised paper-delivered test version of the TOEFL will be launched. But again, you don't have to worry too much about this because generally both these versions are offered in different locations, so you don't really have a choice. It really depends on which version is available in your location. But we'll look at some more details on this comparison in just a second. So if we look at the IBT, that is aligned to modern day educational skills and hence it is preferred by all the top universities, you also have a chance of getting a scholarship if you are taking the TOEFL. Again, you can find all this information on the official TOEFL website or TOEFL Go Anywhere website. There are two websites that have been put up by ETS. I'm going to share all the links in the description box so that you can refer to them later. TOEFL IBT is available in almost all locations worldwide. Most cities only offer TOEFL IBT, hence, like I said earlier, you don't have the option to choose. So why was there a paper-based version in place? Because not all cities around the world had a lot of computer access. So therefore, PBT was offered in places such as Afghanistan, Bangladesh, etc. But now, even the third world countries have computer facilities. So in some locations, you might actually have both the versions available. Now, only for these students who are living in such countries such as Afghanistan or Bangladesh, if you must choose, again, this year, since we have a new version of the paper test that is known as the revised paper delivered test, you want to wait for it to come out and you really want to see what it's like. So if you have the option between IBT and RPDT at your location, go for IBT. IBT is the clear winner. It's a standardized test and you have a lot of study material available for this version, and this is the best version to go for. It's also the most convenient. It's fully computerized, and you will find a lot of good study materials and lessons which are easily accessible for this version, whereas the RPDT is a new one, and wait till October to look at what it's like. If you must know the exact difference, IBT is more, skill-based. It has a speaking section, and the earlier paper-based version was more fixated on grammatical skills, grammar, sentence construction, stuff like that. It did not have a speaking section, though now in the revised version we might be getting something updated because again TOEFL has brought it back. So there must have been a very significant change for them to scrap the PBT and then bring in the RPDT. So again, for this year, for 2017, since it's a transition year for the paper test, I would recommend you to go only for the internet-based version of the TOEFL. Let us now look at the TOEFL IBT 2017 reading section updates, or I would call them things that most students don't know, kind of a thing. A lot of students are not aware that the TOEFL reading section is not just like any other standard reading section where you have some questions based on the passage which are like multiple choice and you must answer them. No, not all the questions are multiple choice. There are 3 question types in particular which throughout my experience I've seen that shocks people or shocks students who are not really aware of the test pattern and they don't really take the time to prepare for it and sit and study for it. and hence they might find these questions very difficult. Also, these questions are higher weightage, they carry more points, and therefore that can be another reason that some people either panic or they have trouble in solving these questions. So this slide is to make you aware of the question type and also to tell you to focus on this question type and to not neglect it, because you might not be aware of it, or your study material might be outdated, you might not be using the correct question types. So make sure that whatever you're using has all these three questions in place. Prose summary question, this is your standard summary question which is present at the end of every passage. And also you might get anywhere from 3 to 4 to even 5 passages. Yes, 20 minutes per passage means that you could have 3 passages, that is 20 into 3, 60 minutes, 1 hour reading section. You could also have 4 passages, that is, yes, 1 hour and 20 minutes of reading. Oh my god, so exhausting, right? And you could even have one more experimental passage in there. So that makes it 5 passages, and imagine having to sit there for 1 hour and 40 minutes solving passages. Like, completely exhausting. So the only point I'm telling you all this is so that you are prepared. You're not just solving one passage at a time, but you're solving 3 to 4 passages at a time to build that skill. So the pro summary question has some options, 3 options which you will drag, you'll choose from a set of 5 to 6, which is the correct summary. A lot of the time students are not aware of what is a summary. A summary is the main topic or the main ideas of the passage. They are not repeats of the factual information that is presented, but they are like the gist of the passage. So the first statement that is already given to you plus the next 3 points taken together should form a complete gist of the passage, right? And within this type there are a variety of variations which you must be aware of, right? You need to, if I have to recommend one book that you need to solve, is the ETS TOEFL Guide, Volume 1 and Volume 2 both, for this year, for 2017. You want to buy the latest guide because that'll have the latest version of the questions. The second one is fill in a table question. A student recently asked me, do these kind of questions come on TOEFL reading? Is it true? Yeah, it is true. You have 2 headings here that you can see, and you must select the correct points and drag them under the appropriate headings. So yes, this is a new question type. You should be aware of it. You can go to YouTube and search for TOEFL TV, which is the EDS channel for TOEFL, and you can go through the playlist that is inside the TOEFL, and you can really look at each and every question type, just to be clear. Also, this channel, that is Veracity TOEFL, has a link to that playlist, so you can definitely go to our playlist and check that out as well. But make sure that you go through the question types and you're aware of them. That's very, very crucial. And the third one is the insert text question type. Again, it can be very shocking for the person who is unprepared or hasn't had the time to go through the official material. You just downloaded some free version from somewhere and you didn't really know that this was also a question type, so you would drag the sentence to the correct position, and generally that depends on the grammatical concepts and the tone of the sentence, and you must check both the points before and after that point, right? Let's say at position A in the paragraph, what is the sentence before and after, and the sentence, your sentence that you drag there should match at point A. It should match with the previous sentence also, and it should match with the upcoming sentence also, right? So apart from D, all the other options A, B, C have to be checked for both previous and following sentence, right? So there are a lot of techniques which are applicable in solving reading questions. Make sure that you discuss the detailed strategies with a certified tutor, and you're very clear on solving them. Remember that reading is not fluke, it's completely strategy oriented. So you really want to learn how to solve and how to approach this section. since I don't want to drag on this lesson for a long duration, what are the quick tips that I can give you if you want to score a 26 plus on reading? If you're targeting 100 on the TOEFL, you want to cross 25 on each section roughly, right? So 25 into 4 is 100. But if you aim for 25, you might get 23. So you want to aim for 26 or higher so that you end up getting at least 25 in each section. Or if you have a requirement for 110 or something like that, then definitely you can target higher. If you look at the reading section, you need to have academic vocabulary for TOEFL. You need to prepare that. You need to be well versed in vocabulary. You need to work on the summary concepts, and you need to understand the various kinds of passages so that you can attempt the summary question. Your comprehension speed must be good. It must be around 3 to 4 minutes for the entire passage. Comprehension speed is not the speed at which you read the passage or scan the passage. It's the speed at which you absorb the passage while doing active reading, that is looking out for certain keywords and concepts, right, to have you quickly understand the summary just as you look over the passage. Now, academic passages are always written in a very typical fashion. So you want to look out for these keywords and you want to develop your comprehension speed. The second thing is that you want to do 3 to 4 passages at a time, and you want to set 20 minutes time limit for each passage. Do timed practice. That's very, very crucial. Screen reading. Do not be solving hard copy books. That's not really going to be helpful in the long run. You want to start reading passages on the screen because your comprehension will be much worse to begin with on the screen, because on the paper you're more comfortable, you can underline stuff, you obviously understand faster on paper, but you really, really want to develop the skill of reading on screen, and then you want to build up your comprehension ability and your screen reading skill, because without that, if you've been practicing just using hard copy books and notes, it's not really going to give you a feel of the real test. So basically simulate the real test conditions during your preparation. That's important. Also focus on the author's tone. A lot of the indirect questions which are related to vocabulary or the summary or the inference or the implication or the match the headings or drag the sentence to the appropriate position, they all depend on the author's tone. What is the author actually trying to say? Is he being completely positive? Is he saying that there are some negatives, however the overall situation is positive? Is he saying, is it completely negative? Is he saying that he's unsure about whether it is positive or negative? Or is he saying that he's pretty certain that it is neutral? Okay, right? So what do I mean by neutral is that scientific passage, which is descriptive passage, when the author doesn't really give you his tone or his opinion, but he's just talking about something and he's telling you some information, a very factual passage. Generally in a TOEFL, you have opinion passages, you have a combination of facts which are being used to support some arguments. So 99.99% of the time you will have the author's tone in there. You have to just check for it, and you have to build that skill and that strategy of applying this and even checking your options with it. You have to be good at fact checking. So all the questions which are factual and they ask you to find certain information in the passage, you need to be able to remember which paragraph contains what, and then go back and give that information as you read the passage. Do not try to memorize it. A lot of students slow down, waste time trying to memorize the passage. Passage is not going anywhere. It's going to stay on the left side of your screen. As you read, you should be understanding the paragraph structure so that when you are at the relevant question, you're able to figure out as to where the answer for that question is hidden, and you can quickly go there and find the relevant fact or the matching word. Right? And you want to practice not just any kind of passages. And remember that reading Facebook posts and tweets don't count as on-screen reading. You want to read dense academic passages. What I can recommend for you are a couple of websites which have topics and passages related to science. and medicine, technology, politics, environment, sociology, psychology, philosophy, all these things, and I will link them down below. They are going to be very good for you to develop your reading speed and your comprehension skills, as these are dense academic passages which you're going to be reading on your computer, hopefully, right? So don't read it on your mobile. So is it possible to get a 26 plus on TOEFL reading? Do people even get 26 plus on TOEFL reading? It's so tough. I've taken the test multiple times and I've still never crossed 20 or 21, or I don't know, right? So this is a common question, complaint that I hear a lot from students who, again, like shared in the previous slide, are not working on their on-screen reading skills. They're not working on their stamina. They're just solving one passage at a time, which is going to be obviously great. The accuracy is going to be high if you solve only one passage at a time. So you want to solve 3-4 passages in one go, because by the third and fourth passages your accuracy would have dropped by half the first few days that you do this, right? So you really want to make the preparation strenuous and tough so that the actual test seems easy. And as you can see from the scorecard, yes, it is totally doable, achievable. In fact, a score of 110 is easily achievable within a month. Okay, so TOEFL reading, probably the toughest section for most people, but it can be improved upon. So I'm just going to quickly jump into now the other sections. TOEFL listening, how to score 26 plus. Focus on academic vocabulary. Yes, a lot of the audios are going to have terms, terminologies related to biology, geography, geology, anthropology. They're going to have all these technical terms, so you really want to work with academic words. What is the best place for learning academic words? The book known as Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis. It's a very affordable book. You can order it through Amazon online, or you might already have a hard copy lying somewhere. There are total 46 sessions in that book. Use it and complete the book diligently. You are never ever going to be forgetting most of the academic word roots. And whether it's a phytoplankton or a cytokinesis, you are always going to remember that, yes, kinetic energy, movement. So kinesis has something to do with motion over there, right? Cyto is the root for cell in biology. So you can pretty much make out some sense of that. And of course, if you're using the right approach, and if you're able to take notes, only if you understand and recognize the word, then obviously you can take it down, right? So not just vocabulary, but also knowing the pronunciation of that word is important. So you want to use a dictionary and check out the pronunciation of these new words that you're learning, because just learning words is not enough. On the listening section, everything is in the audio format. So you might have a word like juggernaut and you might not recognize it because it's from a Sanskrit root, and you need to then look it up what it means, right? And you really wouldn't know how to spell many words in case they show up on the test, especially in the listening section. So you really want to focus on pronunciation and vocabulary both. Note-taking skills should be epic level of note-taking skills. Actually, not really. Two very simple things to do. Divide your A4 sheet into half, like 2 vertical columns. On the left-hand side, start taking notes in bullet point format. Use shortcuts, symbols, arrows, plus and minus sign. I demonstrate this technique live in class. I can't do it right now because obviously each student is at a different level, so the personalized classes are way better to understand. But basically, you need to have a way to write down every single point of the audio without writing down the complete sentences. Please don't be taking down sentences. Second, do not write stuff in atrocious handwriting that you yourself cannot read. I can't tell you how many times this happens. Students are taking notes, and of course they are looking at the screen and the questions, and they are sometimes not looking at the paper as they write, and then when they look down, they can't make head or tail of what they've written down. So you don't want to be in that situation. You really want to change your handwriting if it is not readable by your own self. As long as it's readable, legible for you, that's good. You don't need to Make it beautiful, but it should be readable. Again, screen reading skill, a lot of the questions are going to be printed, the table, the advanced questions, and you want to be able to read and absorb the question on the screen. You want to do stamina building. The listening is very taxing, very long section, and sometimes with experimental questions it can even be longer. So again, just like reading, you really want to practice not one or two audios. You want to practice the entire set that you would get on a test, and you want to do timed practice only, and you want to work specifically with academic audios on topics that you hate listening to. So what I have experienced, again, in my experience since 2009 as a certified TOEFL tutor, is that a lot of subjects are problem areas. For example, engineering students might not be able to follow audios on biology. A lot of students who have never read a humanities book might not be able to follow an audio related to philosophy, right? So you really want to figure out what is that Achilles heel, what is that area, what is that audio that as soon as it comes on, it's like not going in. You don't even know what notes to take because you can't make sense of it, and you think that, oh, if I now take notes I will forget, or I should try to focus on just listening because I anyway can't figure it out. So again, those are all bad things to do. You should identify which are the audios which are really scary for you, which kind of shut your brain down and which do not get recognized because you have nothing to connect to. You cannot relate to that subject. So again, every individual is different. You can work on this, identify them, and then make a plan, right? So be very focused on making a personalized plan instead of trying to do everything that everyone else is doing, right? Because everyone is at a different level, different skill level, different knowledge level, right? And that's how they approach the. Again, in answer to the recent question, can you score 26 plus on listening? Yes, you can actually score even 30 on reading and listening and speaking and writing. In TOEFL, yes, perfect score. Very rare, but it is totally achievable. And listening and reading are two sections which are more objective. Hence, here 30s are quite frequent, and 26 plus is really doable as long as you are working on A, identifying your problems, 2, learning exactly how to fix them, 3, keeping yourself updated with the latest test changes. Number 1 in listening is the audios these days are now fast paced. That means that they have more information in them, so your note-taking skills have to be epic, right? And secondly, they are using a variety of foreign accents. So maybe you might get a lecture in a British accent or an Australian accent, and hey mate, if you don't have the time for that, then you might just want to expose yourself to these new kinds of accents so that you can ace the listening section. And listening to the academic audios is also going to help you work on your speaking, because your speaking is also based on your ability to sound like a native speaker. We are just going to get into that, so please prepare well. Okay, so TOEFL IBT Speaking 2017, what are the big changes? The number one change, like I was just saying, is that you need to, if you want to take your score to the next level, be able to identify foreign accents, especially native accents. What are native accents? People who speak English as their native language, have English as their mother tongue, their family speak English, their schooling was, obviously in an English school, so everyone around them speaks in English, right, all that jazz. So countries like USA, UK, Australia would be native English-speaking countries. There can be a lot of variations even among these three accents, right? So it's not like you want to fake an accent, but you want to neutralize those parts of your accent which do not sound native. For example, talking about a student from India, this is a lecture on photographic film. It is not photographic, right? Okay, so it's not that the T is not so hard, right? A student from the Middle East can say something like photography, Again, it is not photography, right? A student from somewhere else will pronounce it like somewhere else. No shade. I'm just trying to highlight that these are errors. These are erroneous pronunciations. You want to make it native, like you want to say photography. You want to say biological. You want to say what is the other commonly mispronounced word? A lot of them, right? So I was taking a long pause here because I was trying to think, So actually, when you are speaking live, it's very easy for us to identify errors, but everyone has different errors. Somebody has a problem with vowel sound. Somebody has, like I said, various accents which are problematic, which need to be fixed and neutralized. In talking about the question types, question 4 and 6 are the ones where changes can be expected, in the sense that look at the question prompt. The question prompt could be slightly different. It can vary because, again, TOEFL people have figured it out. EDS has figured it out that you guys are using templates, which is okay, which is not a problem at all. But they are changing the question prompt slightly just so that you can be forced to look at the question and answer it that same way. The format is pretty much the same, but the audios are going to be slightly longer, and questions 4 and 6 are the ones that have been upgraded more, that are tougher, and you really want to pay attention to the question statement here. Okay, I really hope this is not going to be very long. Okay, I'm just gonna try to go super, super fast. How to score 26 plus on TOEFL speaking. Work on your accent. Do the vocabulary for each question type, right? For example, talking about a positive experience, you should have 10 words ready, like beautiful, wonderful, challenging, rewarding, that you can use in any kind of independent task which is related to a positive situation or object or event, right? Same way you can prepare some negative words, right? Like harmful and detrimental and damaging, right? And you need to have also basic words such as significant and important and in my opinion, and you need to kind of have these vocabulary sets prepared for each question type so that you can nail those answers with good language, and you're not sounding too casual, and you're not really repeating a lot of words. Marks are deducted for repetition, right, which is a problem. So please make sure that you do not copy the question prompt. You are able to frame sentences in your own language. You want to have the pointer strategy ready so that you can create an answer for any question that the test may throw at you. To give you an example, for task 1 and 2, if they ask you any question, just remember PPS. What is PPS? Is personal, professional, social. So, you know, what is something that you would recommend to people visiting your country? Personal. What is something personally that you like doing in your country? Maybe, visiting the famous monuments and landmarks. So that's your personal preference. That's your most favorite thing about your country. So it'll quickly click in your brain, and you will, that'll be your first reason. Professional, right? If, let's say, someone is visiting your country, can they benefit in any way professionally? Yes, maybe there is a learning center. Maybe there is some kind of a cultural center which provides, training in something that is exclusively provided in your country, right? So you start thinking of those points, right? Social, right? Of course, what is the social benefit of traveling to your country? So what you do with PPS, personal pointer, professional pointer, social pointer, is that for tasks 1 and 2, you are easily able to come up with something or the other, and the examples just start striking you, right? Of course, if you already have examples for them, that's also okay, but this is to be used when you're like blanking out and you don't have anything there to say. The most important thing though about speaking, which I've already stressed, is that the accent is something that they're going hard on. from now. So you really don't want to sound like a non-native person because you demonstrate to them that you will not be a good fit at university. You will not talk in a way that students around you can understand, and you also might not be able to understand the professor, right? So native-like accent is very important. There can be multiple speech issues, not just your accent, your volume, how fast you're speaking, your rate of speech, how fluently and smoothly you're speaking, whether whatever you're speaking has a rising and falling pitch known as intonation or voice modulation, because without that the software will not catch. If you're speaking in a flat monotonous voice, the software will not catch the expressions and you're not going to get good marks for that, right? So there are a lot of things involved in your speech, like your volume, your clarity. A lot of people who speak with their mouth closed can be pronouncing words unclearly, right? So checking it out on Google Voice Note might not be the best solution, because Google Voice Note is designed to recognize your accent. Google is a customer-oriented product. If you're in the Middle East, it will recognize your accent. It will understand what you're saying. If you're in India, it will understand what you're saying. If you have a Russian accent or a Vietnamese accent, it will understand what you are trying to say, right? So you really want to have feedback from a tutor so that you can understand whether what you're speaking is good enough for the TOEFL or not, right? And again, you want to have good note-taking skills, especially in the integrated tasks, and you want to practice in a timed manner, and you want to prepare your sentence structures before you begin with the speaking part of it, right? But if I have to tell you the single most important thing in speaking, that is your speech. Can I score 26 plus on TOEFL speaking? Now this is a problem section for many students, for the single reason that they do not get any feedback and they keep doing general things, whereas this section is the most individualized kind of section. No two people have the same error types happening, so you really want to get that feedback in there. And as you can see from all the scorecards that I've shared, these are the recent scorecards, that almost everyone is getting a 26 plus on speaking. So speaking is the easiest actually to crack, right? You don't have to work on your speaking per se. You have to work on the sounds that you make so that the computer becomes happy and gives you the marks, right? Of course, the examiners are going to listen to your attempt, but what I'm trying to say is that a lot of things can impact your score because it is a computerized test and you're speaking using a mic, right? And the software is recording your answers. So if you exceed the time limits, if you're over speaking, if you're under speaking, if you're not clear, if you are speaking like a non-native person, all these things will lead to problems. So just working on your accent training alone is enough. That's why you can see that consistently, right? You can see from the scorecards that I've shared for the these recent student scorecards that their reading or writing might be fluctuating, but for speaking everyone has a 26 plus, right? Because speaking is very easy to fix. It is very easy to fix as long as you have live feedback there, and because speaking is very easy. Reading, of course, takes a lot of time and dedication, right? It's a skill that gets developed over time, yes, but speaking is the fastest to fix. Around 2. TOEFL IBT writing, what are the changes for 2017? I wouldn't call them changes, but again, a lot of people are not aware of this. They get shocked when they get something like this. Talking about the integrated task, there are 3 question types and your answer must reflect that. You cannot use the same template in all 3. You need to slightly tweak your answer structure so that it fits in to responding to the points made in the passage, casting the doubt on the points made in the passage, or opposing the points made in the passage. The language is going to be different. Responding is going to be more neutral and objective. Casting doubt will be slightly negative. Opposing will be strongly negative. Refuse, reject, denounce, criticize, right? Okay, so you need to, again, get that vocabulary in place, get the structure in place, and remember that there are 3 templates, not just one template. There are 3 kinds of templates and structures that you need to prepare for writing task 1. And of course, the details I am not going to cover right now because I want to finish this lesson ASAP. Just want to cover the major updates. and then I will try to cover more information in subsequent lessons. Writing task 2, there are 2 question types. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Then there will be a statement in quotes, generally on the themes of education, technology, work, environment, teaching, stuff like that, relationships, society, communication. And the other type is where some people say that, others think that. So there are 2 kind of contrasting opinions. Which view do you agree with, right? Sorry, which view do you agree with? And both of them need you to give at least 3 reasons or examples to support your answer. Again, you need to use the correct template, you need to follow the proper word limits and time limits. Let's look at that now. Okay, so how to score 26 plus on TOEFL writing? Use the correct template. Like I said, 3 types for integrated and 2 types for the essay. So make sure that you're using the correct template. You will more or less need to modify your introduction paragraph and the starting of all the other paragraphs. Start using formal phrases and nouns. Formal phrases like need of the hour, corrective measures, preventive measures, impacts, effects, right? So you need to have that body of vocabulary to use. Use nouns as much as possible. Now the writing section, you need to be really formal in the way that you write. So one way is, instead of saying that we need to be doing this, doing is a verb, if I try to use a noun there, we need to put effective measures in place. Measures is a noun. So what happens when you start using nouns, more of nouns and less of verbs, your language becomes so much better. The overall quality of the formal language really improves, and it will give your answer a great polish, and you can easily get 26 plus. Instead of saying some people say this is happening, that is bad, this is good, kind of using very normal language. When you start using nouns, right? So some people think that, or they believe that mass media is leading to problems. Media is a noun, problems are nouns. Right? It's not saying that watching TV is, making you a bad person. I mean, your language needs to be really, really good, right? So if you are sounding like that TV is making you a bad person, that's bad for TOEFL. TV is not making you a bad person. You want to use a good noun out there. So watching television may lead to violent behavior. Behavior is a noun. So you want to really work on that, and you really want to develop your sentences. And if you are in the habit of using a lot of verbs, you want to switch that and use more of nouns. Of course, there are many other techniques, but this is one simple one that you can apply immediately and get some results. I will go into the word limits. Word limits are very crucial. A lot of people overwrite. You should not overwrite. You should stick to 205 to 215 words. And you should finish task 1 within 15 minutes so that you can proofread and fix your typos for the next 5 minutes. If you do not do this, you will not get a 26 plus. Very simple. Task 2, you should write minimum 300 and maximum 350. Please do not write 400 words. That's A, unnecessary. B, will be riddled with errors. C, will leave you no time for spell checking. So make sure that you finish your task 2 in 23 minutes and then use the remaining time in reviewing the entire essay and, of course, removing any spelling errors and typos. So can you score 26 plus in TOEFL writing? Yes, of course. If your writing is horrible, you are still going to start with basic grammar, sentence construction, and you will get better at that. If you can't really learn how to write good sentences, you can always use the templates as rough skeletons and then fill in the rest of the answer and really keep working on it. So basically, formal phrases, nouns, and working on your individual grammatical errors, that's going to really improve your game. Again, general tips don't really work for writing. You might be making a lot of tense errors. Another person might not be writing the singular and plural properly. Another person might be not knowing where to write articles a, an, and the, right? So you really, again, want to first identify the problem areas and B, work on specific things which can help you improve your score directly, not 10 days from now, but today what can I do to improve, right? So it's not a long-term thing that, yes, of course, how do you improve your writing? If you read a lot, yes, automatically your writing improves in the long run. But in the short run, you want to work with your specific grammatical topics and then address those topics and do the beginner level, the intermediate level, the advanced level grammar for that specific topic, whether it's prepositions that you're messing up or it's tenses. You really want to understand the logic behind that grammar topic, which is holding you back from getting your 26 plus. You don't need to have perfect grammar, however, but it is evident from most of these score reports that, again, 26 plus on writing is easily achievable. It is just that every student kind of studies with us for a different amount of time, depending on, how soon their test date is. But the shortest period that I recommend is minimum 2 weeks. Anything less than that is not enough to cover TOEFL course. And if you study with us for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, depending on your level, we can definitely guarantee your score. That is something which is, TOEFL is easy. It's not tough. It's only tough for you because you are booking the test multiple times without taking any score test, without getting any feedback, without really learning anything about it, right? So approach it the right way. That's important. I know I only have taken too much of your time. I do hope that it has been helpful to you, all this information. The best part is now, if you are a student who is preparing for the TOEFL in 2017, we are offering you one free scored mock test, and you have an option. You can do any of these 5 things depending on whether it's just one section that you are facing a problem with, or you want to do the full length test that is going to be a little longer because it's going to take you 3.5 hours. So make sure that if you're signing up for the full and free test, you complete the whole thing, because we won't be able to generate the score report without you completing the full test. If you send us one question, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get your score report. Right, same way for your free scored speaking test, you want to do all the 6 tasks. For your free scored writing test, you want to do all the 2 tasks. And any one of these tests is available to you, not all of them, right? So it's a free service which is available only for a limited period of time. So if you want to avail the free test, send us an email with your name and your contact number, and mention which test do you want, the full test, or do you want any one specific sectional test. You're going to receive individual feedback on it, you're going to receive a score report on it, and you will receive a free personalized study plan so that you can get started. Also, if you want to take up a course or something, yes, you are more than welcome to do that. I will also link our website down below so that you can check out our courses and course testimonials. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel for more updates on TOEFL. All the best. Prep hard.